Germany has seen a number of COVID-19 cases rise since they eased their lockdown. And just before I came on air, I had a Zoom conversation with Jessica Saltz, freelance reporter based in Berlin, who regularly contributes to Euronews, NBC and France 24. And I began by asking Jessica why Germany was so successful in the early days of this pandemic.
Well, I think a lot of Germany's success in this can really be attributed to the fact that it's got a really, really robust and well-funded health system. And I think it's really proven itself throughout this crisis. This is a health system that has really managed to very quickly deal with a number of COVID-19 cases across the country. Much of the health system, because it's a federal country, is decentralized. They were able to act very quickly on local levels. And Germany also really, in some ways, saw this coming. There are reports that even as far back as January, that the Charité hospital, one of the main hospitals in Germany, was already planning tests for corona in Germany. And the first time the coronavirus arrived in the country, they were very quick to enforce lockdown measures. And they've also been mass testing. Germany has the capability to do about 900,000 tests a week. So I think that those are really the main reasons why it's handled it so well so far.
And yet, I saw that nearly 10,000 people were on the streets of Stuttgart and other big German cities, huge protests about lockdown being too tight, despite the fact that Mrs. Merkel has eased it. Now, this to the British is very curious because we always think of the Germans as being very law-abiding, of kind of accepting authority. Is this a very new phenomenon in some ways?
Well, I think we must say opinion polls show that the vast majority of the German public really do follow the government guidelines and have actually been very supportive of government measures when it comes to enforcing lockdown measures, and now we're seeing them release them. We are seeing protests in Germany. It's not unusual. This is a country that likes to, where certain groups like to take to the streets. They're mainly groups of far left and far right, as well as conspiracy theorists. I've attended some of these protests in Berlin, which have been going on for many weeks. But as the weeks go by, there is certainly a feeling here that these protests are making less sense as lockdown measures are very quickly here being released. I mean, I went to an anti-lockdown protest last week in the centre of Berlin where there were people sunbathing in a park nearby. So you do start to question what they're really complaining about.
Yeah, the timing of it did seem very odd. So tell me, to what extent have things been loosened? I mean, could I go into Berlin and get my hair cut today?
You absolutely could, and you could also go and get a tattoo and a massage and go to church. I think we're seeing the most ambitious steps to release the lockdown measures this week across the country. Of course, it does depend in what part of the country you are, but Germany moving quite quickly to get back to some sort of state of new normal, of course, with social distancing measures still in place. And for example, here in Berlin, we have to wear masks when you go on public transport and into shops. But as I say, I mean, today's a sunny day. Walking around Berlin, it's sometimes hard to imagine there is a pandemic going on. All playgrounds are absolutely full here. I saw people playing tennis earlier today. So people returning to normal.
And dare I ask it, could I get a beer in Berlin today?
You could certainly get a beer in Berlin, but you may either have to buy it from a shop and drink it on the street, or buy it from a restaurant that's opened but just opened its front doors and is sort of selling from a kind of makeshift table setup. But of course, what that does create is a lot of sort of outside bar scenarios.
But the one dark cloud, of course, is that according to the Koch Institute, has increased. I mean, to what extent has it increased, and how big a worry is that to Angela Merkel's government?
I think it's certainly a cause for concern that our number has risen to over 1 now twice over the last couple of weeks. And certainly I think that is a cause for concern. I don't think we're going to see any knee-jerk reactions from the German government in terms of suddenly reinforcing lockdown measures. First of all, that our number itself isn't considered the overall important thing when judging whether lockdown measures should be kept in place. And also the Robert Koch Institute today saying that the reason the R number has gone out is because of clusters of cases in Germany. They speak most notably of an outbreak that happened in the south of the country in a slaughterhouse where many people got infected, and also in care homes. So they're saying it's really due to these sort of clusters of cases rather than the number of cases going up on the whole. So, and the number of infections has gone up today by 933 compared to yesterday, which does seem quite high, but the numbers going up and down really over the last couple of weeks of new infections. On the whole, it's still a downward trend week on week in Germany in terms of new infections day on day and week on week.
Well, that was really fascinating. I have to say, I don't have a great personal relationship with Angela Merkel. I mean, whenever I see her, whenever I've met her, she looks like she's sort of just sucked on a lemon because we don't agree on EU policy. But you've got to take your hat off to the way Merkel and the individual Länder have handled this crisis. Germany is a very well-run country, and they are going to emerge economically from this in a stronger position relative to the rest of European countries, including us, than anyone else. Got to take your hat off to Angela Merkel. Done an amazing job. Back to...
We will make America great again.